Well, welcome everyone to another Mindful Monday. And we're all on a journey, and sometimes those journeys have challenges. However, you do not have to face those challenges alone. At Mindful Mondays, we believe that we can do more together, and we're here to support you holistically and without judgment. So, thank you for joining us today. And I would like to start by thanking our sponsors, Cindy Edington, Legal Shield, and the Ben Method Academy for making Mindful Monday episode possible. So, if you can imagine rediscovering your inner strength and living a life filled with purpose and self love, then you are in the right place. Cindy's journey from heartbreak to empowerment has resonated with women around the globe, and her insights are a guiding light for those seeking transformation. She combines intuitive healing with practical mindset work to help women shattering limiting beliefs and embrace their true selves. And she is here to share her wisdom on gratitude, forgiveness, and compassion, essential tools for navigating life's challenges. So, Cindy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Laura. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah. So, you established Tranquil Heart Wellness for helping women and stuff. Can you share what that pivotal moment was, or your journey that led you to establishing it?
Oh, absolutely. This started many years ago at this point, 30 some odd years ago. I actually went through a very heartbreaking divorce, and it left me pretty shattered, didn't feel like I was good enough, uh, didn't feel worthy. There were so many emotions that were going on. At the time, I was single mom. I had an infant at the time as well. And so that was the first in terms of opening up and just learning how to transform my life in a different direction than it had been previously. But I'd say that was probably the beginning. Uh, and it led me down a whole path of different tools, if you will, that I use today to help other women. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what would you say was some of your biggest challenges that you faced during that personal transformation? I mean, obviously, divorce is a big one, but I'm sure there was others.
Many. I mean, I think finances. So if you look at the divorce itself, right, that just opens up a whole cascade of different things that you need to worry about. Being a single parent, finances was huge for me. I was struggling with some illness at the time. I had gone through a house robbery, so there was a whole bunch of things that it all happened. But at the time, when you're in it, you don't really quite see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's where I really had to lean into gratitude because it could be so easy to just fall into, oh, this happened, woe is me, it's this and that, all of that. And I made a choice. I made a choice to say, no, that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. And so that's when I really had to start leaning into gratitude. And one of the things that happened was because of the whole financial situation, I knew that I needed to actually bring in some additional income. So at the time, I really loved going to the gym. That was my way of kind of like working out the stress, really giving me a positive uplift and energy. In doing that, I realized that I could actually leverage that passion into a win-win-win situation. So I ended up getting a certified as a fitness instructor. So I got a free gym membership, right? They had a little bit mini daycare, so I could actually bring my daughter with me, and I could do something that I actually love. So it was again this win-win-win scenario all put together. And that was really the beginning of just kind of like stepping into my own power. Because again, the divorce had like, I felt like the rug was out right from underneath me. And, when that happened, there was a lot of blame and shame. I mean, I even had, and again, I don't hold anything against anybody. I still get along with my ex very well. It's my daughter's father. But at the time, it was very difficult. My father did a lot of blaming and shaming as well. I come from a generation where it was like the women are supposed to be like the unit, keep the family together. So if something is going wrong, well, it must have been me. And of course, I did a lot of blame and shame on myself. What really ended up opening up my inner world was yoga. I had a colleague that invited me into his class. He was teaching a Kundalini class. And so I went, here I am, this person. I'm teaching cardio kickboxing and I'm doing athletic conditioning, and it's all this high powered stuff, and I'm feeling great. And I go into this Kundalini class, and it wasn't really physically challenging. We literally sat there. We did some chanting, we did some breathing exercises, we sang a song. At the end of the class, we ate an apple. And I was like, okay. But when I got up to walk out of that class, something shifted inside of me. And I literally felt like I was walking on air. And I had this incredible epiphany at the time to say, oh my gosh, all of my validation I was seeking from external sources. And so again, and of course, the gym was pumping all of that up and feeding that ego, if you will. And I had to take a pause there and realize that I needed to do a lot of inner work to really feel good about myself, not just seeking the external validation and approval, which I had realized I had actually been doing all of my life. And so that was my first entree in to literally, again, doing the inner work. And I think that's really where most of us, when we're in, again, this a situation that seems like so difficult or whatever, we don't see that that's the direction we really need to go. But I have found over and over and over again that that is the type of work that we women need to do, is the inner work, because there's been so much programming, right? So
Right.
much programming of how we're supposed to behave, what we're supposed to do. And that comes from generational, cultural, societal, industrial, all of these different messages in terms of like how we're supposed to behave, which again led me down this path of I need to be perfect in order to be loved. That was my big limiting belief. And that came later. Again, all these ahas started happening after I started doing my own inner work. So I know that was a long winded answer to your
Oh,
question.
not that's okay. There's actually so much that I can relate to with that. Because when I was younger, I used to do the same thing. You do the workout in the gym, and for one, it's to, if you have any kind of anger issues, whatever, it's good to just kind of like get it out. But like you said, it does kind of also feed it, as well. And yeah, I went along a similar path, so I understand the whole thing and needing to be perfectionist and seeking. I think a lot of us do that, though, is to seek that external validation. But I guess my question is, why are we doing that? Because really it comes down to you, right?
Yeah, it does. Well, I think again, it's why do we do it? Because we don't have the awareness of what we're even doing. I think that's what there again, the inner work. We have to really take a really good look at ourselves and take a deep dive. And it's not easy work, right? This is not work that's for the faint of the heart. You have to want to be able to like look at yourself fully. And a lot of us don't want to do that. We want to put the blinders on. Or again, it's just programming, right? We're programmed not to look within. Our whole culture is like pushing us to seek that validation externally, whether it's from your parents or, the place of employment. How am I going to, I got to, if I want to get up the ranks here, I got to like look good. I got to make sure I'm doing all the right things. So I think that there's so much in terms of messaging that downloads into us to say that that's how we really are going to prove how worthy we are. And until we actually take a step back and say, no, I don't really need to prove anything to anyone. And then that to me is where it's really self-love. I mean, and that's difficult, right? When you're in this achieving, do more, be more, do more, be more, that to me is the trap, right? Because some of us are like high achievers, high achiever here. Who are you achieving it for? Are you really doing it for yourself, or is there this underlying current that it needs to be for somebody else? So, again, just starting to question, but that means awareness, right? Otherwise, we're going to stay completely unconscious to it. So, I think you get to the point where you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired or doing everything and doing more and feeling like I'm doing more and being more and doing more. When does it ever stop? When can I ever just like be? And it's okay to be just be me,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
sometimes that shift can take a while. Was that shift like kind of like a switch for you, or is something that was just kind of gradually, and then you just kind of realized that you were there?
No, so a couple of things. So both. It's a little of both. To really pinpoint it, I think again the yoga really made me realize, just in terms of external validation, that I needed to get quiet. right? Because there's so much noise around us of all the shoulds. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stop shoulding on myself, because when you should on yourself, it gets really stinky after a while. You're sitting in a pile of should, and I'm like, I want to stop shoulding. And so part of what was happening in my life as well on the full-time job, because again, I started teaching all these things on the side. I started teaching yoga on the side. I was still doing, my fitness teaching on the side. I was going to lose my job. They were moving the company to a different part of the state, and I did not want to move my daughter away from her dad. Even though he and I had separated ways, I still wanted to have him in her life, so to speak. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I don't know what's really available in my area. But what's interesting is that my colleagues kept saying to me, Cindy, why don't you think about becoming a life coach? Because I gave everybody around me this safe place, right, to come and talk. And so everybody would come and just tell me what was going on in their life. And and I was like, oh, okay, tell me more. And I was just a really good, active listener. And like, how can I support you? And what do you need right now? And have you thought about this? And so they really felt safe with me doing that, and said, you should really consider being a coach. So I started investigating different coaching programs. There wasn't a lot back then. We're talking again over 2 decades ago, close to
Mhm.
3 decades ago. And there was one big one, and I went to coach you, and it was a 2.5 year program.
Wow.
And so part of that program was, before you really want to step into coaching others, you have to do all of your own work, right? So you have to really do deep dives. So one of the things we did was a needs assessment. And this is not just, what do I need to survive, right? We all know we need food, shelter, clothing. Those are your basic needs, on Maslow's, triangle.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like, but what else do you need? And we started to look at, what are the needs that are driving you? And I had to take a look at that. And so they give you this whole list of all these different words to like take a look at. And our coaches were saying, okay, look at the ones that kind of feel like, ooh, is that really a need? Do I really need that to be my best self? And the need that came up for me, and you had to, what was your top four? And then you had to pick your top one. And then the top one, you had to do a really deep dive on. And my top one was the need to be liked. And I started to realize how much that need was driving all of my decisions, and how that drove this whole external validation, right? Because who doesn't want to be liked?
Right.
And then I had to go back in time and go, where did that really come from? And I started thinking about it. I was like, well, you know what? We moved a lot. We moved every couple of years going up. And I am this small, tiny little thing. When I was like a sophomore in high school, I was like 4'7" and weighed 77 pounds. I looked like somebody's little sister, and I got bullied a lot and I was always the new kid. We moved 3 times when I was in high school. So, I mean,
Wow.
things like that. And I started to realize that what I had become was a chameleon, because the way to fit in, not feel bullied, was to literally become this chameleon. So what did I need to do to be liked in that group? And I got along with everybody. I could morph into whatever I needed to morph into so that I could get that need fulfilled. And so I found that, again, now I'm older, I'm in my adult years now, I'm in a place of employment, and I realized how much that need was driving all of my decisions. And in particular, if I had male bosses, right? So again, the people pleasing, and again, I had to please my dad all the time. So again, it's all these little pieces just started coming together, and I'm like, it was mind blowing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is where this is all coming from. So again, awareness, looking at myself in a deep dive, going, is that really a need? Do I really need that? And I was like, yeah, guess what? You really need to be liked. And if you don't have that, X, Y, and Z, you're going to give away your power. And that's what I was doing. I would give away my power in order to be liked. I would just give it all away. And so what ends up happening after a while, when you give yourself away like that, it takes a little piece of your soul, and it just keeps chipping away, and it chips away at your self-confidence. And you don't know then who you are and how to stand in your power and shine your light. And so it took a while. Again, I'm in my 60s now. So this has been a long journey for me to get to where I am right now. But I'd have to say that, for the past 10 years, I've really I had to learn to really stand in my light. And that meant boundaries. I had to put in a lot of boundaries into place that I had never put in place before. And that was really challenging and really difficult to do, because when you're not doing that, people tend to kind of like walk all over you. And when you start to feel your oats and feel into your power, you're like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen anymore. And so when you start to set boundaries, people are like, whoa, wait a minute, who's this Cindy showing up? Right?
Yep.
We've never seen this side of her before. And some people don't like it, right? And they're going to push back. And this is where I had to learn to sink into my power and ground my feet in and say no. And not in a way that was like, la, 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 the bear, because that's when I first started learning boundaries, it was the bear. I was like, I'm I'm charging into my power now, right? This is the way it's going to be. And that doesn't quite work. So I had to learn to how to set the boundaries in a way that was firm, right? Not going to
Mhm.
cross this boundary, but I'm not going to cave, because that's so easy, right? When people start to push back, it's like, oh, I'm not used to this. And I caved, and I had to learn that. These are,
It's a hard
these are,
habit. It's a hard habit to break.
oh
You,
yeah.
you were got in the habit of, like you said, people pleasing and breaking that. But yeah, so it's hard. You ever still have that little voice every now and then that pops up and you shut it down, or have you got it completely shut down now?
I have it really completely shut down at this point. I mean, but this is a process. And I would tell that to anybody. If you're like, oh, 2 snaps, wipe around the mouth, I'm there now. It took me like a week and I'm done. I'm going to say, okay, I'll see you later, because you're going to be coming back. We're going to be talking again, because it doesn't happen that quickly. Yes, you can have these epiphanies. Yes, you can shift pretty quickly, but it's a practice. So it's a process. It's a practice. You have to practice this, and you have to be persistent, the 3 Ps. Otherwise, it's so easy to fall back into old habits, because those are the things that were ingrained, right? These are the things that we learned very early on, and we have to do a lot of reframing, reprogramming, whatever word you want to say, to get us to a place where we feel really solid in ourselves and say, okay, this is where I'm at. Like I said, I'm in my 60s. It took a long time. I was still struggling with this in my 50s. So it's been a real interesting process. But it can be done, and you just need to lean into yourself. And this is, again, gratitude, forgiveness, huge. You said these 3 things that I kind of live by. Forgiving yourself. Did I make a lot of mistakes? Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I used to beat myself up for them, right? I should have done that. I should have been better. Why did I do that? And then I would get into what I call the should, shame, guilt cycle. I'd should on myself, then I'd shame myself, and then I would feel like so guilty. And when you're in that space, it's so easy to stay stuck in this little swirly, right? I don't know how to get out. You're in your head totally. And that really, again, chips away at the self-confidence, brings you right back down into this place where you don't feel good about yourself. And so what I had to learn was, okay, I made a mistake. Oh, not even a mistake. Let's just call it, that was a learning life lesson for me. What did I learn from that? Right?
Right.
And even if I make the mistake, what did I learn from that? And then how am I going to love myself instead of going immediately to beating myself up about it? How can I just say, yep, it happened. I learned something important from that. And guess what? I'm still going to love myself. I go here, right to here, because this is typically what I do. Because yeah, do I still trip up occasionally with people family members who typically trigger me? And I might have a moment. And so I'll give you an example. So one of my family members, I'll get on the phone and they just da, 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 and they know what buttons to push, and I can start to feel in my body that kind of that anxious energy, that triggered type of energy happening in my body. And sometimes I'll like match her energy, and I'll be, oh, no, no. Okay. I just realized I did that now. And I get off the phone right away. And then I go, oh my gosh. Yep. Darn it. It happened again. Yes, it did. It happened again. And then I'll go, okay, Cindy. Okay. Yeah, it happened. And so I do tapping. So I'm an
Mhm.
EFT practitioner. So I'll just tap on the collarbone point and go, I'm just gonna give myself some, and I say it out loud, and I'm just gonna give myself some love right now. I'm just gonna give myself some love right now because it's okay. It happened, right? And then what do? Pick up the phone. Hi, I just want to let you know I love you. That's it. That's all I need to say. I'll talk to you later. Boom. So what did I do in that moment? Literally, I got it out of my nervous system because all of this resides in our nervous system. I get real sciencey here with you too, but I mean, right? Our nervous
Right.
system is on high alert, right? We go into fight or flight. And if we don't process our emotions and regulate and get that out of our system, it will stay in there. And then it keeps coming up. And then it keeps coming up. Where this way, I'll use my friend Gail's word, I can alchemize it in a moment. I can literally get it out of my nervous system. I can shift from being in fight or flight into rest and digest simply by doing maybe some yoga breathing, or I'll do some tapping and saying out loud what's happening in that moment. Course correction, pick up the phone, say, hi, just want to let you know I love you. And then it's done, right? I'm not holding on to it so that I stay in that swirly of thinking at night, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. Because how many of us have done that? Have you been there?
Oh,
Right?
yeah. I've done that. Keeps you up at night too. So, yeah. And I want to dig in more too about how you started setting the boundaries and doing the gratitude, but we're going to take a quick break from a word from our sponsors and we'll be right back.
I used to say we need a lawyer in the family. Having Legal Shield is better.
For less than $1 a day, you get access to vetted lawyers.
Want to create your will? Call Legal Shield. Got personal contracts to review? Call Legal Shield.
Do you need a vetted law firm to write a letter? Call Legal Shield. Warranty questions? Call Legal Shield.
For less than $1 a day, it's a no-brainer. Shield yourself from costly legal expenses. Call Legal Shield today.
You feeling stressed, burnt out, disconnected, and just stuck, and you want your mojo back? Hi, I'm Linda Joy Ben. I'm an international speaker, best-selling author, and transformational catalyst, and founder of the Ben Method, which is a revolutionary approach to healing, self-care, and transformation. I've had over 35 years of expertise and helped thousands globally around the world who were stressed, fatigued, and looking to reclaim their health and their well-being. And using my Ben method, I've also healed my own body of cancer and autoimmune medication free. Now I work with others, empowering them to reclaim and come back into alignment with their soul's mission and to restore their balance and freedom in their life, and then jump out of bed and go, wow, I feel fantastic. I love my life. I have the best life. And then spread that happiness out to their loved ones and everyone that they come in contact with. If you would like to reclaim your mojo, let's connect, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
So, Cindy, let's start with the gratitude. That's probably a little bit of an easier, because I know a lot of people I've talked to them about boundaries, and they're like, "Oh my God, how do you even do that?" How did you start with the gratitude? Was it just journaling, talking to yourself? I mean, what kind of things did you do, and how was that process for you?
Yeah. So I would just wake up, and I still do this. The first thing in the morning is I say a little prayer, and I think about three things that I'm truly, truly grateful for. And at the beginning, I would do that at night as well. I would just think about what were three things during the day that I felt so grateful for. And I think when you lean into gratitude, what ends up happening is it opens up your heart. If you really lean into gratitude, and that can bring you so much joy and peace within. And so that at the time, I really needed that. I really needed to step into gratitude just so I could really lean into all of the great and good things that were happening in my life, because there was so much negative all around me. I was like, again, I could stay in that swirly of negativity, but I chose not to. And gratitude was the vehicle to literally propel me forward. And it still does to this day. I think gratitude it's life saving, it's life changing. There's so many things to be grateful for. And, it can be your health, it can be your whatever, but it can be the tiniest things. I mean, some mornings I wake up and I am so grateful I have this cozy blanket around me right now, right? I am so grateful for the cup of tea that I'm drinking. it doesn't have to be a big, huge thing. It can be the tiniest things. And I think when you do focus in on the tiny things, because that's where it all really happens. It's all those little things, it's all the little moments. So if we could lean into that, I think that it's really life changing. It was for
Yeah.
me.
And then that's a good point, because a lot of people, when they think that they have to, if for some reason we feel like we have to think of these big grand things to be grateful for. But yeah, you could be grateful for simply waking up in the morning, or, your home. Like you said, it doesn't have to be big, but how often do we take the time to sit and say that we're grateful for it? It kind of just becomes the norm, or taken for granted, I think, instead. But being grateful for it, I think, changes that.
Yeah, and I think, and you really have to feel it too, because it's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm grateful for this. Oh, I'm grateful for that." I would say lean into the feeling of it. So when you're thinking of something you're truly, and I say truly grateful for, you feel it in your heart, and that is shifting. That is a huge shift, because that allows again more love. When you feel into it, you actually feel the love. You can feel the love. You can feel the joy. And so I think that's one thing to really, the nuance of that is not just saying it, but really leaning into the feeling of gratitude.
Yeah, don't do it like a checklist, like, okay, it's my to-do list, I just got this done. You have to kind of like actually slow down. Yeah, like I like that, lean into it, because yeah, there's so many things we miss because we're so busy going rushed day to day. But what were some of the boundaries that you started putting in place?
This is really interesting. So the first one was this, is that literally I just wanted some time to myself in my house, because I was wearing so many different hats. And so one of the boundaries that I just want 20 minutes to go soak in the tub by myself without interruption, without someone knocking on the door. Hey mom, I need you to just this was my time, a little tiny 20 minutes. It's not a lot. And so just setting that was the first one. Believe it or not, that was the first boundary. And and again, when you've got a little child, it's like knocking on the door, going, "Mom," and I'm like, "Okay, we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about this. This is mom's time. This is the little box of time that's just for me." And I think it was good because as my daughter got older, she recognized how important that was for her. So not only was that setting a boundary for me, but it was teaching her a very valuable lesson to take forward. How important it is to have time just for you, right? You need that quiet time to come within, to find a little bit of inner peace. And that was, I think, huge. And that was again, that was the start, and then it just kind of like rolled from there. But I think, yeah, if I think back, that was really the first one.
I was gonna say mine was actually a little bit backwards, because for me, it was, trying to be an entrepreneur and doing business, and I kept attracting all the high drama people, and it just kept wiping my energy out. And it wasn't until someone told me that it's not them, it's you. And I really, and it at first I was like, what? Because like you used to be the chameleon, right? You're the people pleaser. You're showing up, doing everything they need. But by doing that, I didn't realize how much I was allowing the drama in my space,
Mm.
and was not protecting my energy. So that was kind of one of the first things. And there's some people that think like, oh my God, I can't do that. Or, it's not that you're rude, right? You can do it without being rude. You just kind of start to create some distance, and they're either going to go along with you or they're going to fall off.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to be willing to let those go, right? That they fall out. Right. In the past, it would be like, oh my God, they're falling out. What do I need to do? Again, this has been a journey and a process. And again, I'm so grateful. I am so grateful for some of the things that came my way. So again, yoga was so huge. It taught me how to get quiet. It taught me how to slow down, and tune into my body, because your body tells you so much of what's going on in your inner and outer world if we just slow down to take time to listen to it and pay attention to it. Because there were many times when I just like push through, right? I was raised, it's like, what are you doing? It's like, so what, that happened? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and like, that's not going to get you down, right? And charge forward. And that's great. Don't get me wrong. That works for a certain amount of time. And it did. It was great. It worked for me for many years until it didn't. Until it didn't. And that's when, again, the more awareness and doing that inner work to say, okay, what's really going on here? What do I really want? Because I could do more, be more my entire life. And all I felt was spent all the time, right? I'm
Right.
giving away all of my energy. I tell my clients this all the time. Picture yourself as if you were a big well of water. And you're used to like just doling out cups of water to everybody around you because they're thirsty, right? And you're a caring person. Of course, you want to help them. But then you need a cup of water. And guess what? Your well's bone diggity dry. No one's there now giving you a cup back. What ends up happening is we get angry, frustrated, resentful. Why isn't somebody filling my well? Well, you know why? Because we have to fill our own well. And we have to keep replenishing all the time. And so, I mean, these are so cliche, but the whole adage of, the mask comes down in the airplane. Who do you put it on first? Like, yourself. You have to take care of yourself first. And once you're full, then yes, you have so much more to give to others. And then if you've doled out, replenish. And however you need to replenish. For me, it was like, you got to get quiet. I got whatever I need to do, take a walk, do some meditation, do some breathing. Maybe I'm going to read a book. It could be any number of things that you feel is the time that you need to take for you. However, you need to nurture yourself so that you feel whole again, right? And you're just not on go, 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 go in the hamster wheel. Because once we're there, it's like, oh my God, it's so scary, right? What if I launch out and hit the cage and smash my face, right? So it's literally, I've had clients say that, oh my God, what if I hit my face with the cage? It's like, this is why it's we're going to slow it down. We're going to slow it down. Slowing down is so huge so that you don't have to like launch off. You can literally jump off,
Yeah.
step off, right?
Yep. Because even now, every now and then that comes up and stuff with people, or they get to that moment and then they start taking on other things. And then you start going. But I think part of the key too is being able to recognize that. And it's like, yep, nope, that's not the space I want to be in.
Yeah, again, awareness. I think that's,
Mhm.
again, the more you start putting your boundaries into place and the more you start filling your own well, you just start to see things in a completely different light. And then you get to a point, because I know when I first started as an entrepreneur, it was like yes to everything, right? Again, it's something new. I don't know what I'm doing. So old habits start to come in, especially when we're going into something new. What ends up happening is a lot of times those old habits start to come in. So then you're like, oh, that's what's going on again. So I was diluting myself out again and feeling, oh my God, I'm spent. Even though it was good stuff that I love doing, right? I'm still not taking the time I need for me. So, then I had to say, set a boundary of yes, but yes with discernment. So I would really take a pause to decide, do I really want to take that on? What else do I have on my plate right now? It could be, it's maybe it's a yes, but maybe it's a yes, just not now.
Right.
It doesn't have to be this full stop no. Sometimes it will be, but I think when you're starting to learn that, oh my gosh, I can still say yes inside, right? But I'm just going to I'm going to set it on the burner over here for another time until I feel really comfortable and I really want to take that on. Because again, it's so easy, especially when you're doing things that you love, to even overload that way. And I think that's the trick or the trap that we can fall back into is like, oh, but I love doing this and I love doing that. Okay, yeah, it's still good. It's a great energy boost. But start to tune in? Am I feeling overwhelmed? And how often am I feeling overwhelmed? And what am I doing when I'm feeling overwhelmed? How am I coming back to center myself? Because there is really only, I'm sorry to say, so many plates we can be spinning.
Right.
Just
Yeah. And that's a good point too, because a lot of times when you think of overwhelm, you think of like all the bad things or like the really tasks. But like you said, it could be things that you love, but you're still it's dialing it back and, not taking on so much at one time. You also mentioned forgiveness. So, and I know it's a big part. So can you explain the connection between forgiveness and personal growth?
to me, forgiveness is the whole way to self love. That's it. Full stop. And so going through what I went through, of course, I had to forgive a lot of others for their actions or behavior. And forgiveness is, it's not like we're letting them off the hook. Because I think a lot of people are like, well, if I forgive them, that's just like it's accepting what they did. No, we forgive for ourselves so that we can move on. Otherwise, we're going to stay in this dynamic, right?
Right.
Constant battle with it. And so we forgive so that we can move on. So that was the first part of forgiveness, forgiving others. The second part's not as easy, forgiving ourselves. Because again, when you start to get into that should, shame, guilt cycle and we stay there, we're not loving ourselves fully, right? We're constantly, somebody else may not be blaming or shaming us, but we're doing it to ourselves. And so, how can I get to that place where I fully love myself? And that is, I have to forgive everything. I do. I just have to forgive. And again, it's not easy, right? If we've made
Right.
some, and I'll admit, there are some things I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I shouldn't have done that. How stupid I was. I mean, right? Then we start, putting all these negative labels on ourselves, and it just keeps pushing us down, beating ourselves up, and pushing ourselves down. And I think forgiveness, when we get to that point of really truly forgiving ourselves, that's when we really truly are in self love. And it's interesting because, and don't get me wrong, I still struggle with some of these things. I fully love myself. I'm to that point. But I had a situation this past year where, you know, um, again, I won't get into the full story, not needed to know, but I was like, what did I do? Oh my gosh, what did I do? And you start to question. And then I just started going within and asking, am I doing everything that I could possibly be doing? And I'm like, tell me, I'm please, I need a sign. I need, what else do I need to be doing? And I got this download that said, there's nothing but forgiveness. And then right after that, it was, I heard, and again, this is not to be in a religious context, but I heard Jesus said that when he was on the cross, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh, isn't that what we're all here to learn? Is the biggest life lesson for all of us is to not only forgive others, but to learn how to forgive ourselves. And then right after that, the third download came in and said, love is the power source through which forgiveness flows. And I was like blown away. And I mean, literally, it just like bam, bam. And this is what me doing my morning meditation walk. So every morning I like to go outside in nature and connect that way and just walk and take in gratitude, whatever. I might even listen to some like really good music. But I was asking that day, I'm asking, tell me, what am I living in my purpose? What else do I need to do? And I realized that there was still this situation where I wasn't truly forgiving myself. And it was holding me back. It was really holding me back to fully embracing again myself fully. And so I think it's really interesting. So again, I think forgiveness is so healing. It's so healing. And again, it's not to say that we forget,
Right.
but when we pull forgiveness in, it to me, it's the balm, right? It's the healing balm that allows us then to move forward. So we're not spinning in a should shames, guilt cycle, or we're still holding on to like what happened to us 30 years ago. And again, there are certain times when it'll pop up. Again, we're all human, right?
Right.
I can't say this all the time, perfectly imperfect. We're still these emotional beings. So it's going to happen. It's going to pop up. But it's recognizing it in that moment. And then what do I need to do to move it quickly? And forgiveness, again, gratitude and forgiveness are huge so that you're not hanging on to these things.
So anyone struggling with that or where it keeps popping up, kind of like how we get that bad record going where you try and tell yourself something, but then it keeps popping up. Was that the steps then that you would recommend for them?
That, and one of the other things that I do is say, okay, so we know we have this inner critic, right? Because that's the inner voice, the shoulds. You should have done this, you should have done that, right? I tell my clients, give her a name. I have a client that calls her inner critic Big Bad Bertha, right? And so So again, so that you're kind of like stepping outside of it so you can see it more, right? The awareness. When we're in it, it's like this, right? The mirror's right up against my nose. I can't see it. But when we can try to step outside of it, we have a little bit more objectivity to see like what's actually going on here. And then we can course correct. Gratitude, forgiveness, reframing, again, reframing. So, again, it's give her a name. Give her a name. And when you hear her, right? When you hear her say, I hear you. Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. And then no thank you. I mean, I have some girls that go, yep, talk to the hand now. That's it. I've heard enough. Right. Or you can embrace it and say, I know you're just trying to protect me, Bertha, right now, but I got this. And so you can train again. This is way again, you can train your brain, right? You can actually train your brain, reframe, right? In terms of how we start thinking about it. So again, because it's coming up for a reason, right? This inner critic is trying to protect you. It is. It's the protection, the ego, whatever you want to call it. It's trying to protect us. And so if we tell it, I got this, don't worry. The more we tell it, hey, Bertha, I got you. Don't worry. I got this. I'm gonna lean into gratitude. I'm gonna lean into some forgiveness right now. So you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to tell me what I should have done. Because I'm good. I learned something from that. But thank you. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I'm totally covered now. So these are the kinds of tools that, again, and each client's a little bit different, but that's one of the tools that I think has been very successful for a lot of the women. I'm like, give her a name. What do you want to call her?
Bitch and
Who's
Betty always comes to my mind, but
yeah, I mean, I
my
got a client who's like, you know what? I hear my mom. And so she's like, so I call mine Mary. Okay, Mary. I know, right? So mom's trying to like, you should have done this, you should have done that, all whatever. And she's like, okay, Mary. I'm like, don't even call her mom, just Mary. Okay, Mary, I hear you. So again, it's a tool. It's yet another tool. And each client's going to be a little bit different, but these are some of the ones that have been really successful that have worked on many a woman that I've worked with.
so when you work with your clients and stuff, is the yoga involved, the intuitive part? I mean, what does
Oh,
that look like? Or
yeah. So again, so I have facets to my business, right? My overall business is really women's empowerment. I specialize in working with women who are in the aftermath of divorce, not when you're in it, but in the aftermath. Just like me, how do you rediscover yourself afterwards, right? And give you tools there. Now, all of these other things that I have done were passion. So I'm a yogi. I've been teaching yoga for over 25 years. I'm a yoga therapist, EFT practitioner. I'm a Reiki master teacher. So I have all of these different things these were like my sideline passions that filled me while I was still working in corporate. Yeah, right.
right.
And so I weave them in. They're tools in my tool belt. So when I coach somebody, I just had a client this morning and we did some EFT because that tool, she likes that tool. So we can actually tap on, the meridian, the acupressure points along meridians to actually move again. She had a really stressful situation that she was trying to move through. And again, we want to get that out. Otherwise, it stays in the nervous system. So we did some tapping today and then we did some breathing. So then I incorporated some yoga breathing. And then at the very end of it, I did a guided meditation so that when she walked away, she was feeling really good and solid and grounded in herself. She was able to process through all of the emotions that she was going through, which was anger and hurt and betrayal, and get that all out of her system, right? So that she could come back then into a more of a place of clarity so that she could see clear, like, so what do you want to do next? Because when we're in that, it is from a physiological perspective, when we're in fight or flight, right? We're high in the emotions. Blood rushes away from our prefrontal cortex. That's our rational, logical thinking portion of our brain. And it goes to the extremities because we're getting ready to either fight, flee, or completely freeze. And so when we can process through that and we get back to this state of groundedness and calm, now I see more clearly, right? Now I have choice. I'm not being hijacked by my emotions. Now I'm back into the center grounded place. And now I can decide, do I want to react or do I want to respond? Because it's two different things. If I'm in reaction mode, I'm high in the energy of all the emotions. When I'm calm and centered, now I can respond in kind and really have choice of what I want to do. And that's what we did this morning. And now she's like, oh my gosh, because I'm clear. I can either do this or I can do that. Great. Now I can walk away with that choice and feel good about it and feel good. It's one or the other,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And feel good about if either of those happen, I'm going to be good with it. So that's just a small example of how I like use some of my other tools in a coaching scenario. Now I do EFT as solos. You can do an EFT session. I have yoga classes that I still do, group classes by Zoom. I
As I
have
say, that's the
private.
cool thing. You can do this online too. You don't have to be in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I do weave all of these different, I call them tools. Obviously I've been doing these things for a lot of you. I'm professional in all of these different facets. But I like to call them tools in my tool belt to help those that need it.
No, that's a good way to put it. But yeah, everybody, you mentioned yoga classes. You imagine where we used to be, where you used to go to a gym or to a center to do this. But I think ever since the whole COVID thing, everybody started learning. It's like, wait a minute, I don't have to do that. I can do this over Zoom. So really, you can connect with anyone in the world and help them.
Absolutely. Like an example, I had a yoga therapy client who was based in Germany. And so we used to do Zoom yoga therapy with him one on one. And I still do in persons, for those that are in
Mhm.
my neighborhood, I still do in persons, but you can do Reiki sessions or via Zoom. I've had clients that have gone person and Zoom, and we're like, because when COVID hit, we had to pivot even within the Reiki energy as well. And so, I actually ended up doing more training for that because it's just all energy work, anyways, right?
Right.
So, energy work is very different from the aspect of does it really need to be in person? Not really, because it's just energy, and we're going to work on that vibrational um, wave, if you will.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, vibration, the energy and the frequency. It's like it's always been around us. A lot of us weren't brought up to even think in those terms or to realize that. So, what are some of the common limiting beliefs that you encounter with your clients, and how do you help them break free from them?
Oh gosh. Again, I think it's the I'm not good enough. That's probably the biggest one with a lot of the women that I work with. I'm not good enough. And so I do a lot on the shoulds, because I think that really that should shame guilt cycle plays so heavily into the I'm not good enough. And so, I have a 12-week program that I do with very small groups. I only like to have 6 women at a time uh, in that type of scenario. And that program it's actually designed based on the first 4 chakras. So if you don't know what a chakra is, don't worry about it. You can call them energy systems, whatever, but this is where all of our empowerment energy resides, is in those first 4 chakras. And so, got a program built upon that so that we literally learn, like, how do we become more grounded? How do we learn to become more confident? How do we learn to actually use our personal power, right? How do we learn to love ourselves? And so once those all kind of like flow together, then the rest of it naturally happens in terms of speaking our truth, trusting our instincts and intuition, and then just connecting to source, divine, connecting to possibility. That there's so much more out there for you. So that's yeah, I have that, and I don't know. I do one-on-one coaching. So again, I pull in all the tools. So whatever you need, we talk about it, and nothing's forced either. So I mean, you know, I offer free consultations, an hour consultation, just to see if we're a good fit. So because it's two-way street here, right? I'm bringing
Mhm.
100% to this 50-50 relationship. And that's my expectation of whoever I work with, is that you're going to bring your 100% to our 50-50, right?
Right.
And so we just have this agreement. And, if I resonate with you, great. If I don't, I have others that I can refer you to, because, not everybody's for everyone. And I understand that. So I never pressure anybody into saying, you got to work with me. Oh my gosh, if you don't, X, Y, and Z is going to happen to you. No, it's not the way this works, right? If you're in the healing space and supportive space, you want to make sure that people feel really comfortable and confident with what you have. And I want to feel comfortable and confident with whoever I'm working with. And that's not to say that they need to know everything, right?
Right.
Oh my God, Cindy, what if I'm not where you are? No, 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 that's not the point here. The point is that the energy needs to feel good between us. And no matter where you are on your spectrum, right, in terms of your
Mhm.
process of where you are, that's okay. We just meet you where you are and work where you are to take one step forward. Because it's a process, right?
It is, and that's so important too. I love that when you can meet people where they're at. We have about 4 minutes left, so I just want to ask you, looking ahead, what legacy do you hope to create with Tranquil Heart Wellness?
I just hope people know that I did the best that I could with the information I had, and that I really want to just share as much as I possibly can with women who need it, because I've been there. I've walked in their shoes. I know what it's like, and I know what it feels like when you're on the other side of it. And that's the beautiful place. That's where all the juicy stuff is. And I just want to share that with as many women as I possibly can, knowing that you have it. You have it inside of you. Just need to tap into it. Just need to like let it open up and unfold, and you'll live your best life yet when you get to, and it's always evolving. So I want to let women know that too, is that yes, that's a legacy, but I'm always growing. I'm always learning something new. Because if we're not growing, we're dying. And so I really truly believe that is that part of this is just committing to yourself that you're going to learn something new all the time. You're going to take it's just one baby step. It doesn't have to be this huge leap. One baby step. I did that. And then celebrate that you did it. So often we forget about celebration too. So I
Yeah.
talk a lot about that too. You got to celebrate all these little small wins that you're having.
And again, it's like the other one, right? It doesn't have to be big. It can be the smallest of things and just celebrate it. But you find when you do that, it helps you to stop beating yourself up also.
Absolutely. Because again, all of that, if you're celebrating every little thing, so one of the exercises I have some of my clients do is like, you're going to celebrate everything you do today. And they're like, what do you mean? Everything you do. So I felt, okay, I unloaded the dishwasher. Sounds like mundane. Oh my gosh, Cindy, how am I going to celebrate that? You're going to celebrate it. Why? Because we're going to retrain our brain for celebration, right? So once you unload it, you go, I did it. Man, I'm amazing. I am awesome. I'm a rock star. Do a little dance. So again, energy movement, positive
Mhm.
movement, positive affirmation, but just celebrating what you're doing. Because again, sometimes it's like, I don't know how to even do that. I mean, how many of us, when I worked in the corporate world, had these big, huge goals and you get to the end of it and then it's anticlimactic. Okay, on to the next. We never even celebrated something big, let alone
Right.
something little. So it's, to me, it's sometimes we have to take even those little teeny baby steps that seem kind of almost silly, but it's vital and important. So
It
yeah,
is. It is. I love that. Such a fun thing to do. Cindy, I want to thank you for taking the time for sharing all that with us today. I greatly appreciate you being here with us.
thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, anyone, if you have been struggling or if you've been recently used aftermath of divorce and you're struggling, definitely reach out to Cindy. And even like she said, even if you don't resonate with her, I'm sure she has someone that she can connect you with. The key point is to not feel like you're alone, that you're supported, and that there's someone here that can help support you. So,
Absolutely. Support's huge. We didn't talk about that, but that is so huge.
that
Having
is,
a support system.
yeah, that is huge. There's lots we could still go to, but
I
obviously, like I said,
know.
reach out and connect with Cindy. Like she says, she gives an hour free consultation call. Connect with her and get the support that you need. So, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Cindy, for being here, and we will see everybody next week.